This is the You Ask, the Pros Answer podcast. Do you have questions about an upcoming exterior contracting project? We've got answers. Welcome to the You Ask, the Pros Answer podcast. Welcome to the You Ask the Pros Answer podcast, your questions answered by the pros you trust. My name is Cole. I'm one of the hosts on the show. I'm also part of the marketing team at Pro Exteriors, and joined today, as always, I have with me owner and president of Pro Exteriors and co-host of the show, Aaron Rogers. Aaron, how are you?
I'm cold. Cole, how are you?
Samesies. Yeah, we've been having some off and on snow here. It's kind of been cool because it's been the pretty kind and not the disruptive kind, but I could do without the 13-degree wake ups in the morning.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Kind of a bummer. I do like the flannel though. I could live in flannels.
I'm thinking about breaking them out. I might go full time. We'll see.
Nice. This is neither here nor there, but my new Pro Exteriors hoodie is ridiculously hot, and I'm kind of regretting sitting in front of these video lights wearing it, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, Aaron, you know this because you're here every week, but if somebody's finding the podcast for the first time, they might not understand why it is a contracting company based in Southern Delaware would think it's a good idea to put out a podcast. And so I just wanted to remind our audience and remind us as well that each week we simply answer a question that we've been asked by customers in the past, or maybe it's a question we've asked ourselves, or maybe we are just trying to be proactive and answer a question that we expect to be asked in the future. Usually has something to do with what we do. So usually some type of a home exterior project. Some weeks we deviate from that a little bit. In fact, today we are going to be deviating from the norm a little bit. Aaron, today I want to answer this question. What is the Community Pro Pledge? Okay. And so we'll spend our time talking through that. I want to start by reading a mission statement. You know, anytime you start a new campaign or a new initiative, you want to know why it is you're starting it, so that mission drives everything. So I'm going to read this, and then you and I can unpack it, as people say. All right, folks, this is a little bit long. You'll be able to read along on the screen so you don't get lost. Here it is. At Pro Exteriors, we embrace a steadfast commitment to our local communities, nestled within the picturesque landscape of the Delmarva Peninsula. Through our initiative, the Community Pro Pledge, we commit to foster enduring connections, enhance livelihoods, and enrich the fabric of our neighborhoods. With unwavering dedication, we strive to empower, uplift, and support the diverse tapestry of individuals and families within our service area. By actively engaging in philanthropic endeavors, volunteerism, and collaborative partnerships, we aim to cultivate environments where everyone thrives. Together, let us embark on a journey of meaningful impact, ensuring that every corner of the Delmarva Peninsula flourishes with compassion, resilience, and opportunity. Aaron, there is a lot in there. Let's break it down in its simplest form. We'll get to the background here in a couple minutes, but what is the Community Pro Pledge to you?
So how do I define the Community Pro Pledge? I mean, realistically, to me, it's just a form in which we can give back and serve our community on a larger platform. You know, when we initially talked, prior to you coming on board, I told you that, you know, helping and being a larger presence in our community was kind of important to me. You know, I've always had a heart to serve, and I've always had a heart to kind of give back when the opportunity was presented. And that kind of looks like a lot of different things sometimes. So we've done a fair bit of like community work over the years. Sometimes we're super, super quiet about it, and sometimes we're a little bit louder about it. But you know, when you put a name to something and when you put a mission statement behind something, it allows you to kind of focus in and kind of expand that thing to make it as successful as it possibly can be. It makes it a priority, and ultimately it just allows us to take it and kind of put it out into the ether and allow it to kind of just form its own little thing. So, but yeah, like I said, giving back to our community, giving back specifically locally has always been super, super important. Helping people that are either physically not able or financially not able to kind of help themselves is I think it's a duty almost. I think all of us, if we were to make that a larger priority, I think the world, specifically where we live, would be a much happier and better place. So,
yeah. Is this something that is commonplace in the home improvement industry?
So I know that there's a couple of local organizations. One of them is Contractors for Cause, is a pretty well established organization down in like the Ocean View, Bethany area. Is it commonplace? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I know of a handful of other organizations that are kind of doing something like this. I know a handful of people that I speak with that are in the industry that do some community stuff. Again, sometimes you just want to be private. Sometimes the easiest thing to do is just, wait for somebody else to ask for money and just give money. So I won't say it's commonplace for somebody to go to the extent of like kind of wrapping it in the package that we've done it in. But I know that it's pretty common for people in this industry to give back in some capacity. It's just not one of those things that's more widely discussed. The big black cloud, the stereotypes that kind of surround this industry is what most people tend to focus on. So I think the stuff that we do that we tend not to be quite as loud about is oftentimes overlooked.
Could you talk a little bit about how the Community Pro Pledge aligns with our values?
Yeah, I mean, I think right off the bat, when number two is community. We want to be a larger part of our local community, whether it's our town or whether it's our county or surrounding Delmarva region. We want to be the contractor that people call not just for their own projects, but when they know there's somebody in need. We want to be able to be reliable when there is the opportunity or there is the need, that we're able to be there and to step up. When we tie in culture, one of our other core values is culture. I want our team here, the culture that we build internally, I want that to be part of their culture as well. We talk about a servant's heart a lot. I think that's one of those things where that's the people that I want to surround myself with. I want people that want to serve others, where serving themselves is not always the first priority. So I think our core values and the Community Pro Pledge align very, very closely. Yeah.
Saren, at the beginning of this episode, you touched on this a little bit about the background of the pledge, but what is it that inspired you to make it a priority to really put a name to it in this calendar year? This has not been the start of Pro Exteriors serving the community. This has been a long-standing thing. What was it that that just inspired you to make it a thing?
So I've been doing, community projects for a number of years. When projects have been presented, or when I've, heard through the grapevine about somebody or something that kind of needed some help, I've always been called to act. And when the opportunity has, come to fruition and I've been able to step up, I mean, I can think back as, I would say probably 2015, 2016 is probably the first time I can ever remember stepping up. Somebody had some home repairs that needed to be done, and the opportunity just, it just spoke to me, called to me. And I was able to step up and help somebody that, again, couldn't help themselves. We probably about 10 years ago or so, I kind of made it known in my smaller circle of people that if there was ever a situation that came up, that I would be willing to help in some capacity. Now, again, we weren't the size that we are now. We didn't have the scale that we do. We didn't have the funding that we do. We didn't have the relationships that we do now. So every year, there's pretty much been some times that we've been able to help. Some years have been more than others. But as we have kind of moved forward, I just really wanted to make it a larger focus. Ultimately, like I love having a super successful company. I love having a great culture. Both of those things are important to me. But at the end of the year, all the success and all the people patting you on the back and your team being happy and your customers being happy, it's great. It's a lovely thing. But when you talk about what's on the inside, what's in your heart, in my heart, I know that with all of that comes a responsibility to act. And in my faith at our church, we talk about real faith requires action, and this is in the easiest way to say it is this community pro pledge is us taking that action. So for me, it's kind of a multi-tiered thing. It's speaks deeply into my heart, and it also speaks deeply into my faith, both of which are very loud voices.
So you mentioned your faith a little bit, but where does this desire to give back and serve come from? Does this come from your upbringing? Does this come from things that were modeled to you when you were younger? Did this come to you later in life? I mean, you're not old, but did it come to you more as an adult? Where did this desire just to serve come from?
So I would say that I've always had the kind of personality that when somebody needed something, I would almost always be willing to help. So I would say, on a very, very basic level, I would say that my upbringing kind of started that. Mm-hmm. And then, as the years have gone along and I've matured and I've kind of stepped into my own being, who I have become, the happiest times in my life that I can remember were never outside of, getting married and having children and those like huge monumental events. The happiest I ever was when I was able to help somebody else. Mm. So when you sign a really large job, when you have an amazing year, you buy a new truck, you go on a great vacation, like those things, yeah, they make you feel really, really good. And you're like, man, I did that. That makes me really proud. But the proudest moments ever was when I was serving someone else. So as I've gotten older and I've matured and I realize, I'm able to actually think about those emotions on a much, much deeper level. It just always came back to the happiest times were always when I was helping others before I was, serving myself. So yeah.
Well, I'm going to interject right here. We have more of the conversation that I had with Aaron coming up next week, but that's all for part 1 of this episode. What is the Community Pro Pledge? But before we go, would you please help us get the word out about the show? The best way to do this is to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, follow us on social media, or simply tell a friend. Also, we want to hear from you. This show does not exist without your questions. If you have a question that is about an upcoming exterior home remodeling project, or a question about the home improvement industry, or maybe a specific question about Pro Exteriors, you can send those questions to info@askproexteriors.com and place "You Ask" in the subject. Also, this week, if you would like to get involved in the Community Pro Pledge, there will be a link in the video description or the episode description of this episode. You can click on it, learn more about the Community Pro Pledge. All right, again, that's the conclusion of part 1 of my conversation with Aaron. Be sure to tune in next Friday to hear the conclusion. But until then, happy homeowning. The You Ask the Pros Answer podcast is produced in-house by the Pro Exteriors team. Pro Exteriors is the exterior contracting division of Empire Construction Group, LLC. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal advice. For more answers to your questions, please subscribe to this channel and podcast so you'll never miss an episode. Do you have an upcoming home remodeling project? Find more answers to your questions at askproexteriors.com.